The bleeding started at the edges. A park where it was simultaneously a sunny afternoon and a rain-lashed night. People walked through both, their bodies flickering, their clothes changing. They called it mass hysteria on the news. Then a subway tunnel became a permanent echo of a 1970s disaster that never happened here. Commuters stepped onto trains and found themselves in a dark, derailed carriage filled with the ghosts of screams. Some never stepped out again. They became part of the echo. These were no longer fractures. They were open wounds. Paradox zones. Places where a cancelled timeline had punched through the mend and was staking a claim to reality. The city was becoming a battleground of contradictory nows. The human cost was the worst. The twice remembered. People who existed in both the primary timeline and a bleeding echo. They were living contradictions. A woman remembered raising her son to adulthood and also remembered him dying at age 6. Both memories were equally real, equally visceral. The cognitive dissonance was tearing minds apart. Hospitals filled with catatonic patients whispering about lives they never lived. Suicide spiked. The fabric of personal identity was unraveling alongside reality itself. Leo was at the center of it. The fractures pulsed towards him, drawn to his resonance. He was a lightning rod for the chaos. The tinker found him, dragging him to a location the old man had prepared, a convergence point of minor, stable fractures under a disused bridge. The eye of the storm is sometimes the calmest, he yelled over the rising wind that wasn't a wind, but a gale of conflicting temporal pressures. We have to stop it, Leo gasped, his senses overloaded with the screaming of broken time. We can't stop it. We can only redirect it. Seal the main rupture. Your resonance caused it. Your resonance can, perhaps, focus a new mend. But it will require an anchor. A sacrifice. The tinker's plan was a desperate gambit. He called it the anchoring ritual. He explained that the original mend was an automatic, impersonal process. A new, targeted mend required a focal point. A consciousness to define the boundary between real and cancelled. That consciousness would have to hold the line against the pressure of the collapsing timelines. It would have to become a living seal. There are two ways, the tinker said, his face etched with grim resolve. 1. I have a procedure. It will sever your perceptual link. Burn out the resonance in your brain. You will be blind to time forever. Ordinary. The fractures will lose their focal point. The bleeding may slow, stabilize into permanent but contained paradox zones. The city will be scarred, but it might not die. You will live, ignorant. And the other way. The other way, you lean into your gift. You don't just look at a fracture. You step into the heart of the biggest one. You go into the cancelled timeline, the source of the infection. And from inside, you convince it to stop. You become the argument for its cancellation. Your presence there, a piece of the real world, might give the mend a template to reassert itself, to rebuild the seal from both sides. But you will be there, Leo. In the place where all the worst things almost happened. And the seal, if it forms, will form around you. The choice was monstrous. Become a passive, blind survivor in a broken world. Or become an active, conscious sacrifice, trapped forever in the nightmare he helped contain. He thought of the twice-remembered woman. Of the commuters in the ghost train. Of his sister, his mother, living in a city that was forgetting its own rules. His blindness might save them, but it would leave them in a crippled reality. His sacrifice might heal the wound, but it would consume him. The decision was made for him. The ground beneath the bridge shimmered. The paradox zones were connecting, a network of wounds becoming one giant rupture. The sky above tore open, not with light, but with a view into a horrific alternate city. A city of perpetual smog, of armored vehicles patrolling starving crowds, a direct bleed-through of the global collapse timeline from the financial district fracture. It was descending, merging. There was no time for the procedure. Only for the step. He looked at the tinker. The old man nodded, sadness and respect in his eyes. I will hold this point as long as I can. It will be your tether. Your way to push back. But you must go. Now. Leo didn't hesitate. He focused on the heart of the descending horror, the epicenter of the pain he had felt for months. He didn't just look at the fracture. He embraced it. He ran towards the tearing sky. The world did not dissolve. It inverted. He was not in a different place. He was in the same city, but it was the city that had lost. The air was thick and acidic. The buildings were grimy, bedecked with security cages. The people had a hollow, feral look in their eyes. This was the timeline where the fraud won, where hope died. The pain here was not an echo. It was the foundation. And it recognized him. He was an anomaly here. A piece of the timeline that had rejected this reality. He was a walking insult. And the timeline reacted. It attacked not with monsters, but with memories. Not his memories. Its memories. They flooded into him. He felt the despair of the man who jumped from the skyscraper that was never built here. He felt the bitter rage of the politician who sold out millions. He felt the numb hunger of a child in a refugee camp that existed in this world's suburbs. He was drowning in the collective suffering of the cancelled world. His mind began to fray. His own memories, of coffee shops, of editing manuscripts, of sunlight, became fragile things, fairy tales against the crushing weight of this darker truth. This was the tinker's plan. For him to become so saturated with the cancelled reality that his own existence became a paradox too intense for the fracture to contain. He was a bone in the throat of this timeline. He focused on his tether. The tinker's calm point under the bridge. He focused on a single, simple memory of his own. The taste of the coffee from the first fracture. The trivial, mundane detail of a life that was not this. He held it up like a shield against the onslaught of despair. This is not real, he screamed into the psychic storm. This was stopped. You are over. A pressure built. A counterforce. He felt the mend, not as an impersonal force, but as a vast, attentive presence, drawn to the point of maximum tension, him. He was the needle, and the torn edges of reality were the thread. The mend began to pull, to stitch. The cancelled timeline fought back. It offered him versions of his life here. A Leo who became a powerful propagandist in this grim world. A Leo who died in a riot. A Leo who simply gave in. He rejected them all, clinging to the taste of bitter coffee and the feel of a pen in his hand. The stitching was agony. It felt like his soul was being used as solder. He could feel the fracture sealing, the bleeding slowing. But the seal was forming through him. He was not on one side or the other. He was the boundary. The city healed. The paradox zones receded, sealed into small, stable, haunted places. The twice-remembered found one set of memories fading, becoming dreamlike, though the scars on their psyches remained. The official story was a unique geological/atmospheric phenomenon causing mass hallucinations. It was accepted. People wanted to forget. The tinker disappeared. His shop in Greyhaven was just an empty, dusty room. Leo Kessler did not return. But sometimes, in the city that was saved, small, stable fractures remain. They are not painful anymore. They are quiet. Calm. If you are very still, and you have a sensitivity no doctor can name, you might see one. A shimmer in the air near the old financial district. A glimpse of gray skies on a sunny day. And if you focus on it, not with curiosity, but with a feeling of profound gratitude for your ordinary, unbroken life, you might hear something. Not a chorus of hungry whispers. A single, steady voice. It is faint, stretched thin across an impossible barrier. It does not speak of pain or promises. It simply hums a tune. A familiar, mundane melody. It is the sound of a man remembering the taste of coffee, holding a line against the dark. It is the sound of the seal. Holding firm. The present is still fragile. It is still a mosaic of averted disasters, held together by countless unseen stitches. But for now, it holds. And in the quietest moments, at the edge of perception, you can hear the gentle, steadfast hum of the one who chose to become a lock, so the door might stay closed. The fracture is a door. He is the key, turned forever in the lock. And the silence on our side is his everlasting gift.